What's up, everybody? I'm Mike. I'm an alcoholic. How's everybody doing? All right, let's take a moment and then pray a serenity prayer together. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. All right, so last week we took our third steps together. I know we jumped the gun for some people that didn't get their second steps done. Did everybody get their second step done? Yeah. Yeah, good. Anybody have a cool experience with that? Anybody want to share about that? Anybody? Nobody? Corey?
Yeah, I mean, I did mine like the day after we had the shop, and I had a great experience. And mine was, I did one before. I've done a couple, and like reading out to God, like all my ideas that I have and prejudices, they were a little different from the beginning. But it's cool because every time I do it, I can feel that my connection and my relationship with God just like grows stronger. And it's like an overwhelming feeling, and like I can feel Him intimately. You know what I mean? It's an intimate thing when I do it, and after every time at the very end, like I start to understand more and more that like God has to be everything, or He is nothing in my life. And the more I understand that, the easier it is to draw closer to Him, honestly. And the more I do my second step, more and more, it's just, it's an overwhelming feeling. It really is, and I can feel it. You know what I mean? I feel this thing inside me, that emptiness fill up, and it's a beautiful thing. It really was.
Right on. Thank you. Anybody else? Who's first time ever doing that? Second step. You? You took it and read it to God and had that experience? No? Okay.
I didn't do that, but when I did go through it, and like I actually did it, I was in church last Sunday, and same as what Corey just said, it was.
Yeah. If you get a chance with that second step work that you've done, there's a lot of intimate questions on there. Some of them are very challenging, depending on what your upbringing is and what your religious beliefs might be. If you're a member of a certain denomination, or maybe you have church hurt, or some people say I'm a recovering Catholic. There's all kinds of different scenarios that would make that second step exercise challenging. Maybe you're afraid of it. That was my experience. I was very afraid to admit some of the things I believed about God and some of the things I didn't believe about God. And so when I took the time, when my sponsor asked me to read it to God, I was very afraid. And I cried because I really, things inside of me that I've been holding on. And we're going to talk about like how alcoholics just stuff things deep down inside ourselves. That's like a tool that we have that we've been using. It's Big Book says old ideas is what it would call it. We have these old ideas. We've been doing it so much that we don't even realize that we're doing it. It almost becomes second nature. And so when I come up with these formulations or formations of who God is and who God isn't, or maybe I feel let down by God, I stuff it and it becomes a part of me, and I don't know it's even there. And if the statement that the first thing that comes to mind when someone mentions the word God is the single most important thing in your life, it's very important to get that slate clean. The Big Book is going to ask you to turn your will and your life over to God. The Big Book also says the main purpose of this book is enable you to find a power greater in yourself which will solve your problem, which means we're going to talk about God. And so there's no way to not talk about God and not talk about Alcoholics Anonymous. They're 100% together. So it'd be a disservice to try to not talk about God, to try to hide God from the newcomer or for anybody, because that's what our program's about. And so that second step, no matter if you're an atheist or agnostic, whether you know it or not, agnostic is written not so much to agnostics, it's more written to alcoholics. And Ryan, you had something?
No, I was going to talk about that too.
Go ahead.
No, I got this time. There was because of situations and things I've been going through in my life here recently, I've cussed it down. I started creating resentment towards God because He wouldn't leave me with healing or take me out of myself at certain points when I was supposed to just be feeling and breathing. And so, when I wrote that on step 2, I prayed and this is stupid. I asked God, please, when I read this to you, don't be mad. Please don't curse me because I'm scared. And I was literally afraid. I was scared to tell him, but I was about to tell him and what I didn't think he could do for me or what I felt like he wasn't doing for me. And once I got through it, I had a sense of comfort, so to say. And then my next 3 days, I was literally at peace with just situations that are happening in my life. So it was definitely a different experience than I had last time.
Good. Yeah, it's very vitally important to clean that stuff up in your second step. If you're like me at all, it's possible to believe that God could restore me to sanity, but there's a lurking notion or something behind the scenes that says maybe He don't want to, maybe I'm not worth it, or maybe He don't love me. And so by doing that work that's right out of the big book, you get to clear that stuff up a little bit, which is extremely important. Okay, any questions with that work at all? Any questions about your third step? We took the third step collectively, and I want to read you the third step promises. It says on page 63, on the top of the page, it says, when we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things followed. We had a new employer, being all-powerful. He provided what we needed if we kept close to Him and performed His work well. Established on such a footing, we became less and less interested in ourselves, our little plans, and designs. More and more, we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to life. As we felt new power flow in, as we enjoyed peace of mind, as we discovered we could face life successfully, and as we became conscious of His presence, we began to lose our fear of today, tomorrow, or the hereafter we were reborn. Them third step promises that came true for me over and over and over, and the longer that I'm sober, the numbers of the steps seem to disappear, and all the steps kind of go together, and they all relate in different ways. So that first thing is did you sincerely take your third step? These concepts on the page before, that God's the new employer, He's going to be the Father, we're His agents, so forth and so on. When we sincerely took such of the position, then those promises are sure to come true for us. And so last week, I handed out the fourth step resentment inventory, and hopefully some of you guys got a chance to work on that. And I would encourage you, that this being a workshop, to take advantage of the time that you have here and write get busy on your 4 steps. And so I'm going to have I gave out 2 handouts today. One is on the fear inventory, and one is on the sex inventory. And we're going to talk about them, but I first want to touch base on the resentment inventory. I do not have one of them in front of me, but I pretty much, I got one right here. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll have someone come to the board and write out a resentment, and maybe we will, but this handout with your 4th step is pretty self-explanatory. It may be a little bit different for you in your 3rd column. Maybe if you've been sober for a while, maybe if you've been sober for a while and you've done different 4 steps, maybe you've done a checklist inventory, I don't know what you've done, and maybe this will be a little different. The guys that's been coming around PPG and the guys that I sponsor, we've all done this several times. But the first column is pretty self-explanatory. I'm resentful of your name, place, principle, institution with whom you're angry. My sponsor would say, if you've been sober for a while, you're not going to have the 100 people list like a brand new person would, but you all have 5 or 10. And if you really want to think about how I can't find any more resentments to add to my list, then you ask yourself this question: Who are all the stupid people? Who are all the idiots? Right? Who are all the knuckleheads? There you go. There's some more names for your list. Right? Huh? You're welcome. You're welcome. Anything I can do to help. If you think about that, think about who's the stupid people? Who's the people you don't get along with? People that you find to be dumb or you just can't stand them. You don't want to deal with it. You want to do, like the big book says, stuff it deep inside ourselves. But that's a tool. Some resentments are going to be very clear. They'll be blaring. They'll be blatant. You'll have resentments towards things, and it'll be easy. Then you have to dig. If you've been sober for a while, you kind of got to dig a little bit. And that's a good tool to ask myself, who are all the stupid people? It works very well. You don't want to write too much there. 16 words or less is what I've heard. That's probably fair. You don't want to write a whole paragraph or page about why you're resentful. You're just trying to get to the point. That's column 2. The third column says, in the big book it says, in dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. That's column 1 and column 2. In most cases, we found that it was our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore, we were burned up. On our grudge list, we set opposite each name our injuries. Was it our self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sexual relations, which had been interfered with? And that's the third column. So what we've done, what's been given to us, is this third column. It has some questions to help you see how the resentments are affecting you. And every resentment will affect your self-esteem, your emotional security, your ambitions, your personal relationships. Not all resentments are going to affect you financially and sexually. Some will. The other ones, almost inevitably, they'll always be on there. It gives you some questions. For self-esteem, if you think about staying in the context of self-esteem, excuse me, you ask yourself this question: what role am I playing? 7.5 or 8 times out of 10, the role that you're going to be playing is going to be the victim. I would say 7.5, 8 times out of 10, you're going to be playing the role of the victim. The problem with playing the role of the victim is victims never recover. If you can see that you've been playing the victim, that's very hopeful, because you know you can take responsibility. And if you can take responsibility, you can recover. If I'm a victim of what somebody else does to me and I stay a victim of what somebody else does to me, then I have to wait for you to change for me to get better. And that's hopeless to some degree. Who do I think I am? That my ego and my arrogance wants me to think 2 things. It wants me to think that I'm better than you, or it wants me to think that I'm worse than you. I'm the greatest thing to ever walk the earth, or I'm the worst piece of crap, trash that ever was born. It does not allow me, my ego and my alcoholism does not allow me to be just Mike. I'm not better than you, I'm not worse than you, just average Joe, I'm a regular fellow. It does not allow me to be that. It does not want me to stay in the present. It wants me to be in the past, or it wants me to be in the future. What role am I? Who do I think I am? Usually it's one of the two. And if you're an alcoholic like me, I tend to think, or my alcoholism or my ego tends to take me towards the negative. Oh, you must be a piece of crap because they did this to you. You don't have any value. You're a piece of, I would cuss more if I wasn't on the mic, but you're a piece of shit. You know, who I think I am? I think I'm weak. I think I'm soft, ignorant. It's always going to attack you one way or the other. Oh, I'm the greatest. Who do you think you are? I'm the way better than them. Financial security. How is my money hurt or threatened? If it's threatened or hurt, then write it down. Emotional security. What do I think I need to be emotionally secure? And I write these things out. I write it just like that. What I think I need to be emotionally secure is for that person to pay me my money back. That will make me better emotionally. What I think I need to be emotionally secure is for them to make amends to me. What I think I need to be emotionally secure is for them to take responsibility. What I think I need to be emotionally secure is for them to go clean up all the lies they told about me to everyone they lied to. That would make me more emotionally secure. What you're going to find in this third column is the same thing, is that it's all lies. But I think it's vitally important that you answer these questions, because it's important for you to see how powerful your ego and these resentments really are. They're going to trick you into thinking things that aren't even true, and you're going to walk around day after day, week after week, living a life with a perception of dishonesty. You're not even going to be living in reality. You won't. And so if I believe that I need something that you to do to make me emotionally secure, it's not the truth. I don't need you to do nothing to make me emotionally secure. Ambitions, what do I want from this person? This is all in the resentment. What I want from this person is to tell me how sorry they were. What I want from this person is to just stay the hell away from me. I don't know, whatever it may be in proportion to your resentment. What am I trying to get? This ambition one is a very tricky scenario. It's very deep. And so you got to look at it in the resentment. And if you're new at this, you're practicing a spiritual principle, which is looking inside yourself, that we're very much amateurs at. And so me looking inside myself for these answers is foreign to me to some degree. After you do it for a while, you become more familiar with it, but it's always challenging. What am I trying to get? Like if I'm resentful at my mom or my dad or something, what am I trying to get? A sense of belonging. What I'm trying to get is my identity. What am I trying to get is my reputation. What I'm trying to get is to be whole. What I'm trying to get is to get this feeling out of me that something's wrong with me. What's my hidden agenda? The next question. I always got a hidden agenda. Even when I don't think I got a hidden agenda, I always do. Remember, we're like the actors who want to run the whole show, right? So we always got a hidden agenda. My hidden agenda is, if this person would publicly tell everybody how they did me wrong, I would be vindicated and I would feel better about myself, right? Some weird stuff like that. Sex relations will or will not be affected if you're writing your resentment on your spouse or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or past relationships, then obviously your sexual relations will be affected. And so you should just write it. This fear thing at the bottom of this third column, I don't think you should write anything on this because we're going to do a fear inventory. But in the above columns, you will see fear appear in your self-esteem. You'll see it in your financial security. You'll see it in your emotional security, ambitions, and personal. You'll see fear show up. And what I would suggest, you just circle it or highlight it or take note of it, because it's important that we do the inventory on the fears. Next thing, on the fourth column, says, Big Book says, putting out of our minds the wrongs others have done, we resolutely look for our own mistakes. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We admitted our wrongs honestly, and we're willing to set these matters straight. The inventory was ours, not the other person's. Meaning, if Bob stole $20 from me, and I'm resentful at Bob, and I got all the way this far to the fourth column of my inventory, what I'm to do is forget that Bob stole $20 from me just for a moment, and I'm supposed to twist my thinking to my own mistakes. I'm resolutely looking for my own mistakes. What have I ever done to Bob? I was mean to Bob. I blew Bob off. I was supposed to go over there last week at 5, and I just wouldn't show up sometimes. I slandered Bob. I stole from Bob. I mistreated Bob, whatever it be. And it gives you some columns. Selfish. And it gives you a clue on what selfish would look like. It's mine, and you can't have it. And when you ask yourself, what's mine and I can't have it in regards to Bob? Forgiveness, maybe. Maybe it would be forgiveness. Maybe it could be a bunch of other stuff. Dishonest. Where have I been dishonest with Bob? In my whole life, it doesn't have nothing to do with the 20 bucks that he stole from me. What have I ever done to Bob? Self-seeking, it's yours and I want it. Where have I been self-seeking with Bob? Frightened, which is fear. Where have I been frightened? If you cannot find where to put your mistakes in those four, this is what the big book says. And then it says this. This is how I want you to use this tool. Where was I to blame? If you can't figure out how to categorize your mistake in one of those four things, then just write it down, whatever it may be, in the where was I to blame. Does that make sense? Any questions in regards to this fear or this resentment inventory? If you're brand new, you're going to have quite the list. If you've been sober for a while, you're not going to have such a big, unless you've been not doing your 10 steps and your 11 steps. Sorry? Maybe you got a bunch of idiots that you got to write down, which is good. It's very good. Any questions at all? Okay. The next thing, after you do that, and then if you guys need time to write in here, please take the time to do that, okay? The worksheet I handed out on fear, what I hear most of with people in their 4 steps, what I hear to be a pretty predominant way in doing your 4-step, where people have they've gotten done with the resentment inventory and now they've moved on to fear inventory. What I seem to hear the most and what has been my experience is that a lot of times we'll be asked to just make a list of our fears and that's it. And if that works, then that's great. And if you're brand new and that's what you did and your sponsor had you to do that, to hurry up and get you through some steps so you can get some power because you was running out of time, then my hat's off to I respect that 100% and understand it. But the big book has a little bit more to say about that. The big book says, we reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper, even though we had no resentment in connection with them. We asked ourselves why we had them. Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. And when it made us cocky, it was worse. So this is what this is going to ask. It's pretty simple. What's the fear? Why do you have it? How has it affected me? How did I set the ball rolling? How did self-reliance fail me? This may be foreign to you. It may be challenging for you to inventory your fears in this way because you never have before. So if you have any questions, please let me help you if I can. Any questions on this fear inventory? Corey?
On the fear, can you kind of explain like what you mean like on here? Because I know I struggle with it still. Is how did I set the ball rolling? Like explain. I don't know. Just
All right, come on up here real quick.
Huh?
Come on up here.
I should have let Lee.
Get your marker, my dude. Do you got a fear that you're comfortable sharing with the group?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, something I've always struggled that's been on my fear list is like fear of confrontation.
Okay, put on the top. I always just so Corey's on right at the top of the page. God help me. Remember, lack of power is your dilemma. It's all our dilemma. And so if I'm supposed to be taking inventory, I need God's help. So I always write a little prayer or pray a prayer before I do inventory. Okay, over on the left, write down that fear.
I don't know if I'm spelling it right, but
It's okay. Confrontation. Anybody else have that fear? A lot of times with healthy confrontation is a part of life. It is. You're either going to be servile or you're going to be aggressive if you don't know how to have a healthy confrontation. If you're not capable of being assertive, if you don't feel confident enough within yourself to be able to have conversations without being aggressive, then you're gonna usually shrink away. And so healthy confrontation is 100% a part of life, and you gotta be able to do it. A lot of us come from different places. Some of us have been through the ringer, and confrontation meant physical. If I say something, we're gonna fight. Some of us will allow the things that are going on inside of us, will permit that inside of us so very long, something that could have been simply discussed and dealt with will become a raging resentment. And you built up steam, and it's built up steam, and it's caught on fire, and it's a burning avalanche of flames. And then finally when it comes up, it's blah. And so it turns into crazy, right? And so the big book says, to thine own self be true, right? And we're all beginners with some of these things. Okay, why do you have that fear?
I believe it's kind of like you explained away, like growing up, like when I think of confrontation, it was like when my parents or my brother, it was always like yelling and arguing, and it was never healthy. I always look at confrontation as a word of a negative thing.
So the answer would be anybody, I don't know how to have health.
I don't know how to have healthy confrontation.
Would that be accurate? You would agree?
If not, tell me.
Go ahead. Why else would he have this fear? Anybody? What'd you say?
How people react to something you say, like, oh, they think I'm stupid, or they think I'm,
Like another, yeah, like another fear. Another reason why you would have that fear was because, and this is going to be maybe a hard truth, but the reality is I'm not being honest. Make sense?
Yeah, I know that does.
Fear of like the unknown.
Okay, back in the back.
My fear of competition always came because I wanted to portray that I was a tough guy, and I never really was. So I always thought all confrontation had to end in a fight.
Yeah, good. Ryan?
So I guess mine would be like difference in perspective. I've tried to speak to certain people and they misunderstood what I was trying to say. But yeah.
Bo? Michael? Maybe?
Because I might not get my way.
You might not get my way. Steve-O? I want to be right. But I get all those. Those are all valid. He could write all of them, but it's your inventory.
Yeah.
What else? Any of those hit home for you?
Yeah, I think not being honest.
That's a big.
Just growing up and like, I don't know. When I think of confrontation, I think of like honest, like physical. Like something's gonna happen. Like it's always just negative. Like okay, confrontation. Like if I go in this, I have to like be weary. Like
So,
fear. Yeah.
so when you have relationships, and so if we're sober alcoholics, and we're no longer putting ourselves in positions to be in arrangements, then we're trying to have relationships now. And so no matter if you're in a friendship, or like a buddy friendship, or my AA friend at the meeting, I see him a couple times a week, they're my friend, or you're in an intimate relationship, or your family relationship, and if you're afraid of confrontation because you're simply not being honest. And so this fear will create that which he's afraid of. Does that make sense? You know why that happens? It's because your ego wants to be right. Your ego always wants to be right. You will do things, we will take steps in our fear to create, that's what we're afraid of, so we can say, yeah, I was right. I was right.
Yeah. And I guess it's led, like having confrontation has led into like broken relationships.
So that's the next question. How has it affected me?
Oh, okay.
So go ahead. You're right on the money. Do you think it's nicer if you're trying to be a nice lady or a nice fellow and you're in your relationships, and you think it's nicer to tell someone the truth or lie to them because you're afraid of confrontation? Right? And so what you're trying, so fear would be the hedge. You guys ever see The Labyrinth? Ever seen The Labyrinth with David Bowie? Nobody here seen that? Oh my gosh, what the heck? You remember The Labyrinth you had to walk through and the hedges were all high? So in our life, that's what fear is. The big book says, what's that? Iceberg. Oh, yeah, like in the labyrinth where you can only go certain ways, the same thing, that's the fear. Fear is going to tell you to go left when you should have went right. It's going to tell you to stop when you should go. And the big book says it ought to be classed with stealing because it causes more problems. Okay, what you got there?
Has led to broken relationships.
Yeah. Anything else? How else has it affected you?
It has like,
Caused you to worry and fret about stuff?
and it has me to like be defensive already, like going into a confrontation.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to be like defensive, like it's on edge, worry. Yeah, exactly.
To like not do anything at all and just stay stuck.
Yeah, I've also just never had confrontation. And then it made me like build resentments because of my fear of it. Like instead of like going and have a conversation with the person, I just bottle it up, and then I get resentful, and then they don't even know why I'm resentful, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Or because you was afraid, you lied to them, and you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. It's affecting you, causing you to lie. Causing you to lie.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot.
How did I set the ball rolling? This is the question. This is what you're going to find is that if you belong to a religious denomination, what you're going to hear is that fear is from the devil. And that may be true to some degree. What we learn in Alcoholics Anonymous is that most of the fears that we have are from ourselves. We've created that which we are afraid of. Almost always. Do I believe in the old slew foot? Yeah, I do. I got to believe in one if I believe in the other. And so do I believe that there's an enemy personally? You don't have to. I do. And do I believe that enemy can deceive me like that's what his job is to do? Absolutely. Can I whisper sweet nothings in my ear? Yeah, I do believe that. But what I find is that almost inevitably the fears that I have created out of my own management. Me trying to run life on Mike's will is what usually creates that. What'd you get there, Corey?
How did I set the ball rolling?
Yeah.
I haven't wrote on it yet. But, I mean, obviously, like, now what I know, like, when I go into these fears and I write them out, I know, like, the biggest thing is, like, not having faith, not putting it in God's hands. Like, that's one way I set the ball rolling is, like, dealing with my inner self and not giving that up. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things. But, I guess lying to myself.
Yeah, so
I lied, like, this is going to telling all myself these lies that aren't even real instead of, like, having faith that God's going to take care of it for me, that it's okay to be honest, it's okay to have these healthy conversations, but instead I'm like, oh yeah, this ain't good.
if you're in a relationship where you constantly have to lie to people to be friends with them or to be with them, I mean, what the hell? Who wants to be in that kind of shit? You know what I mean? I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms by all means, but most people respect your honesty. Most people value that. That's what, you know what I mean? Most people, loyalty is a big thing. I respect loyalty, and especially from where it's 2026, things are weird. You know what I mean? I want to know who's with me and who ain't. You know what I mean? That's not necessarily a wrong thing. Do I have some real close friendships? I do. Do I have some friendships that I just might see occasionally? I got some of them too. The idea is I don't have to like everybody, but I gotta love them, right? And so it's hard to have these intimate relationships if I'm not being honest. Yeah. It's impossible. It's gonna ruin them. If Rachel lied to me all the time, I'd be domestic violences and all kind of stuff. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess, yeah, too, so like today, what it is like, how it set the ball rolling is like, what, putting myself around, like...
By managing your own life, doing what you want versus what God wants.
Yeah, not giving it to God, managing my own...
And wouldn't it kind of be like putting yourself in that position to begin with, for the conversation to arise at all?
And it's the same, the honesty thing, the thread of the honesty is all through this. And it's going to be the same in how I set the ball rolling is by being dishonest.
Yeah.
By simply, it's just almost, we're lucky in the Akron-Cleveland area, we got the 4 absolutes. A lot of places don't have them. They don't even ever heard of them. I've been around some places, they don't even know what that is. And so we have that 4 absolute pamphlet, honesty, unselfishness, purity, and love. In the early days of Alcoholics Anonymous, that was a big deal. And so they were trying to teach us that honesty is an absolute. And I don't know that we'll ever attain that perfection, but boy, oh boy, it's sure a good goal to try to pursue, to try to make progress in. Honest with you and honest with me. Honest with my own self. The big book talks about that kind of honesty. We'll go ahead and read it to the group there, Corey.
Lying to myself, not giving it to God, managing my own life, and by being dishonest.
Anything else there? It's pretty simple, as deep as it may cut.
Yeah.
As deep as it may cut, it's very simple. Makes sense? And then the last question is, how did self-reliance fail? This question is always going to be answered almost inevitably the same way. And it's going to be answered by the time you did this inventory on these fears, what it's going to show you is how you messed up. How you tried to manage your life again. How you tried to run life on self-will. How you were your own God, the beginning and the end. And then we agnostic says that's rather vain of us, isn't it? Absolutely it is. Yeah. And so how does self-reliance, and what you're going to see over and over is the easiest. You're looking for these patterns in your 4th step, and when you're doing a 5th step, you'll start seeing them. This fear one is the almost easiest one to see, because how does self-reliance fail me? Totally. Absolute. I don't even know why I even try. Right? You'll see it over and over again, and the goal for this step work, and you're going to hear about it, is to learn enough humility. It's one of the things. There's a couple other ones, but to learn enough humility, there needs to be a measure, I don't know what the measure is, of humility. This is a spiritual work that where God can remove it. There needs to be a humility that I can accept for my own self and my own honesty with myself, so that I can say, I can't, God can. No different than when most of us all got sober. Most of us all have these experiences where you reach this place, and some people would call a bottom. I would just kind of a little disagree with that, where you said, I don't care no more. I'm done. God, please help me. And at that place is usually where God shows up the most. That's because we have permitted God to show up there the most, because we've run out of ourself. Right? Same thing with this inventory, these resentments and fears. I got to be convinced that my way don't work. When I'm convinced of that, I won't try it. And when I'm sincere about that, God has really, it's like me reaching out to God, Him reaching back. He always reaches back. Make sense? Yep. Give him a hand. Okay, any questions about fear inventory? Come on. Do you want to do one? You want to do a fear? Come on up. I'd rather do a resentment? You want to do a resentment? Let's go. Can somebody help me clean the board? Hey, well, before that, well, you got it, Corey. Never mind. Any questions on fear? Well, I want to read you guys this. Perhaps there's a better way. We think so. For we're not, this is one of the couple most powerful, in my opinion, most powerful paragraphs in the big book. Perhaps there's a better way. We think so. For we are now on a different basis, the basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite self. Right, Corey? Where's Corey? See how Corey was relying on his finite self? versus relying on God. We are in the world, this is the juice. We are in the world to play the role He assigns. I'm not in the world to play the role that I assign. Just to the extent that we do as we think He would have us and humbly rely on Him, does He enable us to match calamity with serenity. This is huge, you guys. Just to the extent that I do as I think He would have me. Meaning, just to the extent as I do what I think God would have me. So this idea that what I think God would have me do, what it's saying is faith. I'm not sure, especially if you're brand new with living spiritually, or maybe you've been sober a while and you're on some new traction, right? Maybe you learned some stuff in your life where you was off the beam, which we all do, right? We all do it. And so what would God have me do? Remember, you guys, I told you last week I was getting them damn relationships. I go up in the bathroom and get on my knees and pray with all my heart and soul. God, what am I going to do about this damn woman? And then my mind would say, marry her. And I thought it was God. So we're all, to some degree, new at it. But what if I was to instead of going in the bathroom and praying, which is not a bad thing to do, and I should do that. But maybe after I got out of the bathroom, I called my sponsor and say, Spons, she just kicked me in the face and lied to me and did this and that. And I prayed and God said, marry her. He'd have been like, you're stupid. He would have put that one right to bed, right? Or he would have been, if I was sensitive, my sponsor didn't matter if I was sensitive or not. He didn't give me no slack. So he would say that. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard of. Or something like that. He would say something like that to me, and I'd be like, what? But God wasn't God that He would have told me right then and there. But my ego wanted to be right. Therefore, even in that, there's a trick, there's a manipulation. Why didn't I call my sponsor right then and there? Why didn't I? My sponsor loved me enough. He didn't have no problem telling me the truth about nothing. You see? Dylan?
Because it's my selfishness and what I want.
Yes.
I will manipulate what I think God wants from me and what I really want. And it'll seem so just and so right. And my motives might be so good, but it all in all, it's just my selfishness.
Yeah. So the church uses something, well, this is a lot of stuff will line up with the church, but would say wise counsel. The big book says counsel with other people, I don't know exactly the quote, is good. Meaning if I got these things that I think that what God wants me to do, it's good to go get some wise counsel. Meaning, go call your sponsor. Now, everybody, we all know some yes men's, yes women's. I'll call somebody right now and say, hey, man, I'm thinking about robbing, they left the quarters out on the back of the bread truck. What do you think? They'll be like, get them. But I call somebody, and that's a long shot, and that's a surfacey kind of question by all means, but the people who love me are going to say, what the hell's it got to do with none of your business? They'll tell me the truth. Some people will yes me right into a relapse. And I could be friends with them, but the truest form of love I've seen in my life is when people love my life and my sobriety and told me the truth in spite of my feelings. Does that make sense? They told me the truth, and they risked the relationship to tell me the truth. That's love. Some people are afraid to hurt my feelings, and they'll tell me whatever I want to hear. And what I've come to find out is when I take their advice and I team up with them and my life falls off the damn deep end, and after I make it through, if I make it through and I get back on the beam, what I find is I don't really respect them at all. I don't really respect them at all. And if I do that, I don't respect myself. You see? Okay, what's your name, dear? Lauren is going to do a resentment. You ready for this? Okay, who's the resentment? My uncle. Uncle. Please, if you got inventory to write it. It's a good time. You can still listen and hear. Please capitalize on this opportunity. Okay, Uncle, you write it down? Okay, and I want you to write underneath Uncle, like if you can see your pencil, just write over in this area, write down why you're resentful. Yeah, underneath Uncle, yep. Thanks for coming up.
Dad just died and texted me and told me to do a load of laundry at my mom's.
Bastard.
And I've done a load of laundry every time I've been over there since, and it pisses me off.
So put it in your own words. He's making me do laundry or whatever. Well, Rachel or Kay or Meredith, will you guys write this for her so she don't have to write it again? Please. I would ask your friend, but she's so far back there it's hard to see probably. Okay, read it to the group, please.
He texted me to do a load of laundry at mom's. I've done laundry every time I've been there.
Okay. Next to that, I want you right here, like right here, write SE, which would stand for self-esteem. Okay, and then the question is, what role are you playing? So I personally write it out in sentence form. You don't have to do that. That's just what I do. I write, I am playing the role of, and I just, whatever comes. So that, right, go ahead and do that. Just write, I am playing the role of, and then you just let the pen keep on going. What you got? Read it.
I'm playing the role of grieving daughter.
Victim. Victim. You guys hear what she said? And a victim, but her father just passed away. Okay? Next question, who do you think you are? So in this resentment, so I write this, who I think I am is. It's either going to be one of the two, you guys. I'm way too much of a better person in this, or usually, in my case, it's going to be the only reason he's asking me to do this is because I'm a piece of shit, or I'm not good enough, or something along them lines. Make sense? What you got? Read it.
Who I think I am is the one who is trying to keep it together, not doing good enough.
Not doing good enough. That's the truth. That's where she gets. You okay? Okay. Does this affect your financial security?
No.
Okay. I want you to write this ES, which stands for emotional security. And I want you to write what I think I need to be emotionally secure is, and then you fill in the blank. Go ahead.
What I think I need to be emotionally secure is for him to leave me alone.
Fair enough. Right? Okay. A and B stands for, right, A and B. That's okay. A,
Oh, for ambition.
sorry.
Thanks, guys.
You guys can see that from way over there. I can't see it from right here. What do I want from Uncle Joe or whatever it is? It's going to be something like what I want from Uncle Bob or whatever his name is. Some understanding, some pity, some compassion, something like that.
Just want him to ask how I'm doing. Don't nag me.
Okay, and then the next question is, so put this, what I'm trying to get is,
I mean, they're kind of all the same, right?
yeah, that's okay. If you start seeing some patterns, that's totally okay. Trying to get some pity from them, some understanding. What I'm trying to get is some freedom, maybe. Maybe I'm trying to get just some peace. Some what? The laundry done. What'd you get?
Understanding and peace.
Okay. Do you have a hidden agenda? So just put that my hidden agenda is. Cole, you back to writing? I got pens. Ooh, good throw. Oh, that was good. I'm surprised. That was good.
All right, my hidden agenda is I want to do everything for my mom, and it's hard doing it by myself.
Fair enough. Okay, then draw you another line. Yep. And now putting out the wrongs, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done to us, we resolutely look for our own mistakes. So write selfish. Where have you been selfish with your uncle, ever? Not in regards to the laundry, ever.
Not reaching out enough.
Maybe. Fair enough. Not reaching out enough. So it would be not reaching out enough in my time, my consideration, right? That's fine. You don't have to write it, but that's definitely, does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one would be dishonest. Where have you ever been dishonest with your uncle?
This column is the worst for me.
Why is it the worst?
Because I never know
Yeah.
how to see my faults in it.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's okay. If you can't come up with nothing, blatant dishonesty there, just move on to the next one. We don't want you getting stuck. We'll get stuck and be stuck for 2 weeks on the damn thing. You know what I mean? Over one question. Right? Yeah. I'm having a hard time. No, you just got one damn question. Right? That's what we do. What's that, Bubba? Personal relations? Oh, I forgot to have her do that.
Hidden agenda.
Yeah. Okay, so real quick,
Personal relations, it's making me mad at my uncle.
I forgot to have you do that. So let's just talk this one out. Rachel can write it for you. How does this affect your relations with your uncle?
Makes me mad at him. I don't want to talk to him.
Poorly. I don't even want to talk to his ass. How about with others?
I mean, it probably makes me lash out.
Okay, with others?
Even if I'm
Good. You got that, Rachel? Okay. Okay, back to next one. Self-seeking. So I put SS for that. Yep. It says it's yours and I want it. want his consideration. What's that? Self-seeking. His understanding. Okay, and then the next one would be frightened. So what's your fear here?
Probably that I'm gonna let my mom down.
When he's telling you to go do the laundry, are you doing it? How's come if you can't do it, you won't say, I can't do it? What are you afraid of? What you say, Bill? Yeah. Judgment. Afraid he's gonna get mad at me. Afraid that I'll let him down, or
Yeah, if I don't do it, then our relationship will.
any other fears? Okay, then come back to it, and then write this: WWITB. That stands for where was I to blame? Anything else you've ever done to your uncle, ever, write it down. Anything you could think of. So in this resentment, it seems like she's having a hard time because maybe there's not too much that she's done to her uncle, but which would bring me back to her dishonest column, right? Her dishonest column, she has nothing there, has a hard time. It might simply be, I've been dishonest by not telling them how I'm really doing. I've been dishonest by not telling them I'm struggling and I can't keep up and I'm having a hard time. That's dishonest, whether you like it or not. It's just, some of us are afraid of confrontation or, Does it make sense? Okay, can you read that?
Not having a strong relationship with him, not being able to tell him how I feel.
Good. You guys see anything else there? That might be so we use this list to make amends later. The people who are on our resentment list end up on our 8-step list. So if it says we admitted our wrongs honestly and we're willing to set these matters straight. So at the time when it comes, when you make amends to your uncle, you say, or maybe in the near future, you can say, you know what, I've been dishonest with you. He's going to be like, what do you mean? And you're going to say, I'm not doing that good. I'm having a hard time. So forth, so on. Just as simple as that may sound, which may be hard to do, but that's how you right that wrong. This was a good one. This was a really good one. To see it from a...
I feel like saying it like that, like I'm putting it back on me, though, like it's all about me.
God loves you just. There's no grandkids. God loves you just as much as everybody else. You guys, listen to something I've been doing. I've been praying the Our Father prayer, and what it was suggested to me is to use it as a guideline. We've all heard that before. So I was listening to this soaking in the presence music or whatever, and I pray Our Father, and then I use that as a guide to pray. And this is what I come up with. This is just this other day. Our Father. There's about 8 billion people in the world. I was like, whoa, Our Father. There's 8 billion people in the world. There's 8 billion people that God's the father to, and sometimes I feel like I'm not good enough to be his kid. Does that make sense? Sometimes I feel like he could be a father to everybody else and love you and all, but for some reason, he don't love me. You see? Our Father's 8 billion some people in the world. He's our Father. Why do I feel so disconnected? And I prayed that prayer, which is a very powerful thing. You ever get a chance to kind of use that as a guide, it's really, really cool. Does that make sense, dear? Anything else? Give her a hand. You okay? Okay, moving on. Anything else there with fears? Anything with resentments? Any questions? Okay, we're going to move over to sex. Page 68 and 69, coincidentally. Once again, what I hear, you okay? Thank you very much. It's very brave of you to come up here, both of you. Now about sex. Many of us needed an overhauling there, but above all, we tried to be sensible on this question. It's easy to get way off track. Here we find human opinions running to extremes. Absurd extremes, perhaps. One set of voices cry that sex is a lust of our lower nature, a base necessity of procreation. Then we have the voices who cry for sex and more sex, who bewail the institution of marriage, who think that most of the troubles of the race are traceable to sex causes. They think we do not have enough of it or that it isn't the right kind. They see its significance everywhere. One school would allow no flavor for its fare, and the other would have us all on the straight pepper diet. We want to stay out of the controversy. We do not want to be the arbiter of anyone's sex conducts. We all got sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. What can we do about them? So you guys, this next paragraph is going to tell you how to do this inventory. And I want to read it to you, and I want to point out a couple things. Page 69. Coincidence? I think not. All right, now here we go. This is what it says. We reviewed our own conduct over the years past. If you confine this portion of your inventory to just your sex, you are going to miss out. You're going to miss a ton. Yes, you should be considerate of your sex. You should be considerate of, when you're doing this inventory, absolutely you should be thoughtful of your sex. But it does not say that. It simply says, we reviewed our conduct over the years past. And then it says, where had we been selfish? Just like on that, I don't have the copy of the paper, but you do. The handout is, all these handouts are from the book. First question, and the graph here is just the questions. Where had we been selfish? What I suggest that you do, what works for me and for many others, is just write the word selfish on the top of your paper and review your conduct over all as far back as you could remember, and anywhere that comes to mind where you had been selfish, write it down. It seems daunting, but it's not. It's very doable. Every guy I sponsored has done it. I've done it several times myself. Yes, where have I been selfish? Maybe it was on the baseball team or at volleyball or at Christmas time in second grade. Who the hell knows? But what I'm trying to express or emphasize or highlight would be that there's more to this inventory than just sex. Okay, everybody get it? Where have you ever been selfish in your whole life? Just write it down. We reviewed our conduct over the years past. Where have I been selfish? Next thing you do is after you've written a page or whatever that you write on selfish, the next thing is dishonest. Write it at the top of your paper. Ask God to help you, and then write down all the places where you were ever dishonest. If you were dishonest in regards to sex, then you should write it down. If you were dishonest in regards to money, you should write it down. It covers all. Conduct is conduct, okay? After you've done that, write to the next piece of paper, and I suggest you write at the top of the page, inconsiderate. Where had I been inconsiderate over my lifetime? Next one, so forth, so on. Whom had I hurt? Jealousy, suspicion, bitterness. The big book says, where did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, bitterness, or suspicion? We all know the tools of manipulation when we've been in relationships. Maybe it's some friendships we've used those tools. Wherever it is, just write it down. Where were we at fault? Just think about that. Where have I been at fault? God, where have I been at fault? Help me, God. And just write it down. What should we have done instead? Liz?
Do you want us to make a list of the aroused jealousy, this aroused suspicion, and bitterness as well?
Yes. All those. I just skipped over, I'm sorry. What should we have done instead? And write it down. Do not confine, I would hate for you to confine this inventory to just your sexual relationships or whatever they were, arrangements. Okay? If you do that, you're going to miss out on a large chunks of truth about yourself. All right? This is your inventory. This is our inventory. Our idea is we're trying to have a better relationship with God. We turned our will and our lives, our thoughts and our actions over to God, and now it's time to do some house cleaning to get some of the stuff that's blocking me from God out of the way. And I've told guys this and girls this. I go to the jail on Fridays, and we walk through the first door, ka-clunk, and it closes. And then we walk through another door, ka-clunk, and we walk through doors that lock, and there's bars and metal, and we get way into the middle of the belly of the beast, the belly of the jail. And we sit there and we have a meeting, and what I notice about the meeting is I can feel and sense the presence of God. There's no mistake. No mistake, the presence of God is there. It's overwhelming at times. And so the bars and the gates and the locks and all that stuff cannot separate me from God. The Bible would say nothing can separate me from God. But I think in my experiences, the only thing that I have that separates me from God are my fears, my resentments, and my selfishness. My self-will, my choice-making, my decisions are the things that block me from God. And I put them up in an attempt to try to run my own life. Does that make sense? If I have a resentment against Mike, and I keep Mike at arm's length, the problem with that is maybe it works for Mike. I keep Mike, and I use a resentment or I use a fear to keep Mike away from me. The same tool that I use to keep Mike away from me, the problem, the consequence, or the penalty to pay for using that tool to keep Mike at arm's length is that same tool is going to keep God at arm's length. Does that make sense? If I'm putting up cold shoulders and barriers against God's kids, the tools and barriers I put up based on self will inevitably, the consequence for using them tools to keep you away from me is I keep me away from God. Everybody understand? Any questions about that? Oh, I'm sorry, Sammy?
Really quick going back to this, like, when we're writing where we are at fault and what we should have done instead, do we do that, like, by person?
You can do that. That's a good question. So I tend to just, where was I at fault? And I look back through my life and I try not to attach it to anything. And I try, where was I at fault? Some of the things I just know for sure. where I was wrong for that. I was at fault for this. I lied about this for years and years. I just kind of keep it in that category. Does that make sense?
You don't have to like be like, okay, person
No.
and all this stuff.
You definitely can, but I don't.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
That sounds a lot easier.
Yeah.
The way I did it last time.
Just think about it as its own category. Okay, Sammy? Yeah. It's its own category.
Okay, so just pretty much journal it out.
Yeah, you could journal it out, or that's a list it out is better, yeah. What should I have done instead? What should I have done instead? I wrote all this stuff down because what it's going to say is this. And the next paragraph it says, in this way, in what way? It says this way. Well, what is this way? It's taking inventory of our conduct over the years past. In that way. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Nothing? Everybody good? Everybody staying current with the work? Please stay current. It'll change your life. Okay. Next week, we're going to have our tradition talk real quick. So we got 15 more minutes. We'll probably end up early tonight. But I want you to work on this. Try to get it done. If you're brand new, this is your first 4-step you've ever done, then you're going to have quite a bit more, and your sponsor will help you, I'm sure, or I'll be glad to help you. But next week, we're going to recap on this a little bit, and we're going to go into 5th step, and then hopefully that'll wrap up our 4-step talk, and we're going to go right into the rest of the deal. So we'll be climbing the hill and headed downward pretty soon here. Are you sure you don't have no questions? Nothing. Good. Okay. Today, we are on Tradition 4, and Rachel is going to do our talk on Tradition 4. All right, listen up.
Hello, I'm Rachel. I'm a real alcoholic. So tradition for the short form is each group should be autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. The long form is with respect to its own affairs. Each AA group should be responsible to no other authority than its own conscience. But when its plans concern the welfare of neighboring groups, those groups ought be consulted, and no group, regional committee, or individual should ever take any action that might greatly affect AA as a whole without conferring with the trustees of the General Service Board on such issues. Our common welfare is paramount. So I did some research. I read the 12 and 12 and some other books. The 12 and 12, it says that each AA group is an individual entity, strictly reliant on its own conscience as a guide to action. When AA published the traditions in 1946, they found it necessary to post only 2 storm signals when it came to Tradition 4. The first one was a group ought not do anything which would greatly injure AA as a whole, and the second is no group ought to affiliate itself with anything or anybody else. A few examples of that I could think of were PPG, my home group. We play music before our meeting. We use a study guide to go through the big book. We play a meditation song. No one can come into our group and be like, you can't do those things. I don't like it. Change it. We're not affecting AA as a whole. We came to all those things on a group conscience. But on the other hand, if PPG were to start another meeting, in order to stay with Tradition 4, we need to think about what other meetings are going on in our area. What time and day do they have? Are they the same format? Things like that, and so that we don't hinder their meeting. We're conscious of the other meetings and other people in the program. And then for the second part, about not bringing outside things into AA, I personally have a lady. She was in my sponsorship lineage. She was my sponsee sister, and she had years. I think she was in double digits. She's still sober, but she's not part of AA anymore. She got very offended by people bringing their political beliefs into meetings she was going to. They had different ones than she did. And she got really offended, very resentful, and she left AA because of that. And so we don't want, we can have our own beliefs. We don't bring it to the meeting. Our primary purpose comes first, and that's to bring others to sobriety. So sobriety has to be our sole subjective. So with that, I'm going to pass.
Thanks, Rachel. So sometimes, and we'll wrap it up with this, sometimes when if this is all about relationships and having healthy relationships and honest relationships, and if one of the bedevilments is I'm having problems with my personal relationships, would be a symptom or sign of my spiritual malady, also a sign that I'm sick and I got some separation between me and you. Now, the separation that occurs between me and you, it's not always what you've done to me. It's not always the resentment I have towards you because I think that you offended me. A lot of times what creates the separation is I may have done something to you and I've taken it lightly. Maybe we have a great relationship and I've done something unbecoming, and the shame of that without cleaning it up will separate me from you. The guilt of it. A lot of times when I offend somebody, the guilt and shame, the remorse, the regret in regards to it will create a wall between me and you. You see? It's vitally important that when we're doing these inventories, we're looking for that kind of stuff. Right? We're picking up the rocks, we're looking in the back of the corners of the closets and under the shelves, and we're dusting things off. Look back through your life. The big book says nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. It don't even count if you're not thorough and honest. And we're lazy and we got stuff going on and we're busy, but boy, oh boy, what a good life. What a good life that God has called us to. What an opportunity that as an alcoholic, my life is better today because I'm an alcoholic than had I not been. My life today, because of Alcoholics Anonymous, is better today because I'm an alcoholic than it probably would have been had I not been. And I mean that. And so we all have that access to that power. But we have to face and be rid of the things within us that are blocking us from God. And that's our resentments and our selfishnesses and our fears, our inconsiderates, where did I create jealousy and suspicion? All those things separate me from you. And it's vital that I look for those things, right? Any other questions? Let's pray it out.
I got to go to Dr. Bowles Day for the first time last time. Yeah, we go to school. Yes.
It's easier to write a 4-step than make a circle at the meeting. All right, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread,